with his Ignite Charlotte talk on jazz, improvisation, and the bass. Please welcome Mr. John Shaughnessy.
Hi, I'm John Shaughnessy. I'm a jazz musician and bassist in town, and I'm here to talk about jazz improvisation and the bass. So, one of the things I get asked a lot is, what the heck is this thing, and what does it do? So hopefully I'm here to answer some of these questions for you today. So first of all, I want to get into this really quick. This is not a cello. A cello is a much smaller instrument. It's played with a bow, and you play it sitting down between your legs. This is a bass. The bass's job is really to kind of serve as a bridge between the drums and the harmonic instruments in the band. The second thing is that the bass is largely improvised, meaning I'm making stuff up as I go along, much like this talk right now. So, where does walking bass come from? Well, basically it comes from 19th century brass bands. If you think of like the trumpet or the euphonium, doing kind of an oompa, that would be the start of the walking bass for jazz. Now, as jazz got more complex and faster, it was a lot harder for those guys to breathe with the tuba, so they switched over to the string bass as the fundamental of the orchestra. So now, go into the 1940s, and a guy named Jimmy Blanton, and Jimmy Blanton played with Duke Ellington's band. Jimmy Blanton really kind of revolutionized what we think of as walking bass lines. He was the first guy to play walking fours, which is 4 moving notes in a bar of music, as well as playing arpeggios and solos. Now I think of walking bass as similar to a game of connect the dots. So basically I have a root, a note that I'm on, and I've got to get to this next note, and I need to figure out how I'm going to get there. So I can get there from a variety of different ways. Now, the other thing is that walking bass also comes from Baroque music. I have on the screen here a chorale from J.S. Bach. What you have is you have a bass that kind of moves around independently of the other instruments, but at the same time, it kind of gives them a foundation. The other thing is that walking bass tends to kind of move in waves. So if you see a bass player going high up on the bass and then going low down on the bass, he's doing his job. Basically, you want to have kind of a flow to your lines. If you're going up, then you also want to come back down. If you jump around, you want to use scales. So what I'm going to do today is play a simple blues to kind of demonstrate these ideas. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 chords. They are the 1 chord, the 4 chord, which is 4 notes above the 1, and the 5 chord, which is 5 notes above the 1. So these 3 chords form what we know as a 12-bar blues progression. Now, you may or may not know what a 12-bar blues progression is, but chances are you've heard it if you listen to the radio for more than 5 minutes. This is one of the most common progressions there are. I'm going to connect these 3 notes, this 1, the 4, and the 5, with something called scales. And the scale basically is just notes ordered in an octave. So I'm going to play a note, I'm going to play a bunch of other notes to get me to the next chord, I'm going to play a bunch of other notes to get me to the next chord. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm not going to really think about what it is that I'm playing. I'm really going to kind of listen and think about what I want to hear to go to that next note. So none of this that I'm going to play for you right now has been made up in advance. I'm purely just improvising. So here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here's the 4. Back to the 1. Staying on the 1. Heading to the 4. Back to the 1. Now I'm heading to the 5. Back to the 4. And up to the 1. And to the 5. And back to the 1. I'm going around again. Same thing. 4. And I'm actually able to talk as I'm doing this because I've been doing this for a while. So back to the 1. Back to the 5. I'm going to jazz it up a little bit. I'm going to do something called a jazz blues. I'm going to add a couple notes into this. So here's the 1 again. 4. Good. Go ahead and snap your fingers if you want. 4. Now I'm going to go over something called a 6. 2. 5. 1. 6. 2. 5. And do a little solo. Same idea, I'm just moving around a lot more. So next time you're out at a jazz club, hopefully you'll know a little bit more about the bass than you did before you got here, and you won't tell the guy, hey, that's a great cello you're playing there. Thank you very much.